good afternoon, or evening. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Susan Evans, and I am honored to welcome you to today's webinar with Kensington Senior Living. I had the opportunity to hear Karen Adams speak at a She Talk at Stanford months ago. Karen presented to hundreds in the audience and virtually, and I felt like I was in her living room. Her discussion is honest, engaging, and most importantly, the research and information she shares, every woman and really every man needs to hear. Women are born with hormones and they die with them. It is truly a life journey and challenge. I heard a meditation today that your resting face expression should be a smile. The more we smile, people will smile with us, making the community a happier place. Smile walking into the grocery store or the dry cleaners or the dentist, well, maybe. But my goal from today's webinar is that everyone leaves with a smile, feeling empowered from our discussion. I commit to you that Karen Adams will not disappoint. Thank you, Kensington, for supporting these powerful events for our community. I was first introduced to the Kensington family in 2015. Our family made the difficult decision to move my father to Kensington in Northern California. He was living with Alzheimer's disease, and it was greatly impacting my mother's health, and I did not want to lose both my parents to this dreadful disease. My life pivoted and did a 180 from being a recent empty nester to dedicating my efforts to education and connecting the Alzheimer's community. Kensington focuses on relationship-based care built on the foundation of their promise to love and care for your family as they do their own. It is programs such as the one you are attending now that are so important for those of us walking through a caregiving journey to hear from expert professionals on keeping us current with the latest advances in care, management, and treatment of conditions that affect seniors and families. A copy of today's webinar will be delivered to your inbox with links to connect to Karen and the important work she is doing at Stanford. Please support her efforts. You are welcome to share the webinar with friends and family. At the end of the program, we will have a conversations with questions submitted at registration and open up to a live Q&A. Please join me in welcoming Karen Adams. I would love if you could share with the audience a few words about yourself. Karen, can you join me? Oh, there you are. I just can't see you.
Let me see. There we go.
No, there you are. And I really meant from my heart what I said about the webinar that I was able to join months ago. I think it was March, and the work that you're doing. And I just applaud everything that you're doing for all the women and the men out there, as I said. And information is power. And so the more that we can learn about women's health and how to navigate all of the challenges that life throws at us, I just thank you. And I can't thank you enough for everything that you do. So I'm going to let you take the show from here, and I'm going to come back and join you. And again, to the audience, we have a Q&A function on the Zoom platform. Please submit questions there, but we will also be answering the questions that were submitted at registration. Again, thank you, Karen, so much.
Susan, I can't stop smiling, from what you said earlier. I just feel like we see the world in the same way, so similarly. And I think having a smiling resting face or a resting smiling face is a definite life goal that I will work on. I appreciate that so much. Thank you so much for having me. I really respect the work that you're doing, the impact that you're making. And as we go through and we talk about things that help you to live more healthy at every age, one of the things is really staying connected. And you do that. You do that so beautifully. So it's my honor and privilege to be with you today. And I offer all of this information in hopes that it will have some meaning for the people who are on our call today. So again, thanks so much. Now, with
Thank
that,
you. And audience, here you go. I'll see
I
you in a few.
share my screen. Let me see. Here we go. All right. Well, I just did the hard part. If you can see my slides and it's all smooth sailing from there. Again, thank you so much for the opportunity to meet with you all today. I really do hope we have an engaging and fun and enlightening conversation today. I feel like we're all on a journey. Everyone is confused. Everyone is just doing the best they can. And hopefully, as we move through our lives, we are still confused, but we're confused at a higher level, maybe, and feeling a little more in our skin. So. I offer all of this information to you as ways that I hope you can become more your true self. And these are 7 strategies to live well at any age. Before I really dive into the content, I want to just share a little bit about myself so that you know who this person is talking at you today. This is me. I'm in the middle here. I think I'm about 12 here. I grew up in Pasadena, Texas, and I'm flanked by my 2 sisters on either side of me and my grandparents and my dad. When I turned 12, I started my periods and my hair went crazy. I got very frizzy, big, bold hair all of a sudden. And it was the first inclination that I had that women's hormones really impact them, because I used to have hair like my 2 sisters there. And then I hit my period and boom, there it was. This is me when I was a junior in high school. Still didn't really know quite what to do with the hair, but at least, I don't know, still confused, maybe at a higher level. This is me with my 9-year-old daughter on a Girl Scout weekend, hiking weekend, when I was her Girl Scout troop leader, which is really funny. If you know me, you know I don't do a lot of uh, I don't love camping, I guess I would say. I do love the outdoors, but that was super fun. This is one of the best days of my life. This is when my daughter and her spouse got married, and I was a proud mother of one of the brides. And then this is me and my partner last summer in Santorini. We were there celebrating a friend's birthday. And when your friend says, let's all go to Greece for your birthday, you said the only answer is yes. So that was a really wonderful time connecting with people I love. I was at in Oregon for 30 years practicing women's health, and I retired and had the shortest retirement on record. It was about 8 months. And then I got recruited out of retirement to come to Stanford and create and lead this program in menopause and healthy aging. This is our website. It is such an honor and delight to be there, where there's so many wonderful resources. And you see there that our mission is to provide superb clinical care and visionary leadership in education, research, and advocacy in menopause and healthy aging, so that every single patient is empowered to live with strength, health, and vitality as they age. One of the cool things about being at Stanford is that there are so many experts in so many areas. And we were able to bring together what we call the Stanford Menopause Collaborative of Practice. And it's the leaders at Stanford in women's heart health, women's bone health, women's brain health, breast cancer, cancer survivorship in general, sleep, nutrition, exercise, and sexuality. So we all got together in the same room, and we are coming up with all kinds of fun plans and programs and ways to impact in this space. Interestingly, all the leaders of these programs turned out to be women. We did not choose that or look for that, but I thought that was super interesting. Also, one of the things I was able to do when I came to Stanford was I got board certified in lifestyle medicine. So not only am I board certified in OB-GYN and menopause care, but I'm also board certified in lifestyle medicine. And we are a group of professionals who really use the power of lifestyle to impact people's chronic disease risk. And so that's a big part of the underpinnings of what I'm going to talk with you about today. So, as we dive into the content, I want you to just take a moment. If you're sitting, kind of put your feet flat on the floor, maybe put your hands in your lap, take a deep breath, and now take a moment and think about one thing that you are currently doing to support your own health, something you're already doing. It could be physical, it could be your mental health, it could be emotional or your spiritual health, but it's something you're already doing. So take a second and just kind of find that thing in your mind. So, you may not be doing it perfectly, you may not be doing it every day, but you're doing it, something you're already doing. And as I go through these the different things that science tells us really support our healthy aging, I want you to see if one of your themes hit in the topic areas. And I'm going to be weaving a couple of themes through this. One is super important to set up your environment for success. There's ways you can set up your environment that it can help you make the choices you want to make. So I'm going to be talking about that. I'm also going to be talking about this idea of good enough, that, we often get so tripped up over trying to be perfect that we just kind of throw up our hands and say, I'll never get there. You will get there, and you're good enough. And those efforts are all good enough. And I'm going to be weaving that as we go through. All right. So now I'm going to go through what we know about supporting healthy aging, and let's see if any of your things that you thought of hit these topics. Was your thing about sleep? That may not be the first thing people go to, but I wanted to start with sleep because it's so, so important in so many aspects of our aging. The Living Well Index is a survey that happens every year, all adults, 18 to 80, men, women, the whole gender spectrum, everyone. And they look at factors that impact our well-being and happiness. And every single time, the same two things keep coming up year after year, survey after survey, the same two factors that tell us about that really promote happiness and well-being. Number one is good sleep. Number two is good sex. Those are the two things that people say most impact their happiness and their quality of life. So I wanted to start with sleep because people struggle with that. So this is the first time you're going to hear me say, set up your environment for success. You want to think about what you have created in the bedroom. You want it to be a place where you want to go, where it's restful and supportive. I want to acknowledge here that unfortunately many people have experienced sexual trauma. A very horrible number of people have, and the bedroom isn't always a safe place for some people. So I want to acknowledge that, again, recognizing that it is so important in our healing and our growth that we take control of those things to the extent that we can. So you want to invest in comfort, in creating a beautiful nest with fluffy bedding and beautiful kind of soft pillows and blackout curtains so it's dark. No screens. Super important. You don't want that light hitting your brain telling you it's time to wake up. If you struggle with sleep, it's important not to nap. Don't nap during the day, no matter how tired you are. Get up and go to bed at the same time every day. The other thing is the most effective therapy for insomnia is cognitive behavior therapy, which can be very beneficial to help you kind of calm what the Buddhists call the monkey mind, which is the thing that keeps us awake at night. The other thing I mentioned was good sex. So, what does science tell us about good sex? Well, number one, When we go through menopause, 50% of women as we age start to have pain with sex. 50% don't, but of the 50% that do, very few are treated. And that's a really terrible thing because it's very, very treatable. And so that's important to know that if you're having pain with sex, that can certainly be treated. And you should go see a gynecologist who specializes in that to get that taken care of. Beyond pain with sex, low libido is the most common complaint that women have. And that really applies to women of all ages. So, the science of sex tells us that all human sexual behavior, men, women, the whole gender spectrum, again, is a balance of accelerators and brakes. And there are things that make us hit the accelerator, but there are also things that make us hit the brake. And so often we think we need more accelerator, right? We think we need fancy lingerie, or we need porn, or we need flavored lube, or we need a date night, or we need these different things. When in reality, so often it's that we need to get our foot off the brake. There are so many things that can make us hit the brake. You know, stress is a very significant brake in this when you think about this. And I would argue that if you are running from the Bengal tiger, Mother Nature does not want you to stop and have sex, right? Because you will die. And so when we're stressed, you know, I mean, stress now isn't a Bengal tiger. It's traffic, it's deadlines, it's our relationships, it's climate change, it's politics, it's all the things that make us swim in this cortisol soup. So thinking about managing our stress, and we're going to talk about ways we can do that, can be very helpful for our sex drive. There are some simple things that sex therapists actually recommend to improve libido. Number one is kind of funny. It's scheduled sex, you know, which is funny because we always think we should be swept away and have it be so romantic and all of that. But scheduling sex, we schedule everything else, right? Why don't we schedule sex? We should, because we're exhausted when we fall into bed at 10 o'clock at night, and we're not going to feel like the hottest thing on the planet. So when you schedule it, you can say, okay, we're going to figure this out. We're going to find a time that works for both of us. And you can prepare for that. You can choose times where you're naturally more energetic, and it will raise your own testosterone levels. So that's one thing I offer you to try, maybe play around with. The other thing is to create an erotica menu, which is kind of your own list of things you like. Everybody has things they like. We often forget that because we're thinking about pleasing our partner. And some people like toes, you know? Some people like a back rub. Some people like porn. Some people like a song that reminds them of a beautiful, lovely time they had with their partner. But kind of getting back in touch with those things that you like can help you kind of boost your own libido. Maybe your thing was about what you're eating, about nutrition. What should we eat? There's so much information and misinformation out there. Michael Pollan wrote the book In Defense of Food and a bunch of other books, and he's given us a very simple prescription. Eat food, not too much, mostly plants. Easy to remember, right? Eat food, not too much, mostly plants. Okay, so what does that really look like? This is where I'm going to say, set up your environment for success. Because, you know, 8 o'clock at night, when you're watching, this guy's watching Wild Rivers, National Geographic, but when you're watching, I don't know, season 2 of Only Murders in the Building or something, nobody is going to have willpower at 8 o'clock at night. Whatever's in your pantry, you're going to eat. And so the time to set up your environment for success is when you are at the grocery store and when you have beautiful chopped up cucumbers and veggies and your hummus and all the things in your fridge. It's much easier to make the kind of choice that you want to make. So just, you know, have that mindfulness when you're putting things in your grocery cart. In terms of what science tells us is best, the best way to eat, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine has said a predominantly whole food, plant-based diet for disease prevention, treatment, and reversal. What that means is your plate looks like 50% of it is fruits and vegetables. A quarter of it is whole grains, brown rice, whole wheat pasta, oatmeal, things like that. And a quarter of it is beans, peas, and legumes. And that's where you get your protein from. And if you ate that way 100% of the time, you would be vegan. You would eat no animal products, no dairy, no eggs, no meat. Most people can't do that. Most people don't want to do that, right? I mean, that doesn't appeal to you. But if you could do that like 2 days a week, be kind of vegan light, that would be great. It would drastically drop your risk for chronic illness. And it's hard to gain weight, frankly, if you eat that way. So I offer that to you as just something to kind of play around with a little bit. See if you could be vegan light now and then. Also, I want to just mention the Mediterranean diet is a very wonderful, good health supporting diet, and it is good enough. They do have in the Mediterranean diet, there are animal products, fish and seafood, and that's fine. And poultry, that's fine. You really want to avoid deli meats, you want to avoid red meat. Because it's just so pro-inflammatory. But Mediterranean diet is good enough and it's pretty sustainable. So I offer that to you as something to kind of play with as well. Maybe your thing was about exercise. Maybe it's about something that you're doing to move your body. And that's what I want to challenge you is to stop so much thinking about exercise per se and start thinking more about moving your body. How do you move your body? How do you do something other than, sitting in a chair or on the couch all day? There's really significant benefits to moving your body. What it does is it improves your sleep, it improves your mood, it improves sex, it improves your brain fog, that sort of concentration kind of stuff that sometimes people have a hard time word finding or they have a little bit of difficulty with verbal memory. It helps with that. And it really lowers inflammation. In general, health promoting habits are things that lower inflammation. We want to decrease the inflammation in our bodies and in our brains. And so eating a whole food plant-based diet does that. Also, moving your body does that and improves many different things in ripple effects. It decreases the risk of chronic illness and falls. It's very important as we age to minimize our fall risk because, if you fall and break a hip, that's a disaster because 1 in 4 women will die after a broken hip and another 1 in 4 will be permanently disabled. And so preventing that is really important by maintaining core strength. This is also where I would say be aware of good enough because we often really push ourselves to do more than we can or more than is safe. So always a little bit is better than none at all. There is no amount of exercise that is so small that you will not get benefits. So if you walk up a flight of stairs, you get benefit from that. If you just get up from your desk and stretch a few times during the day, you get benefit from that. If all you do is show up at the yoga class and you lay on your mat for an hour sobbing into the mat in child's pose, that's good enough. You showed up. So don't kill yourself with or give up because you're not being perfect. Just do what you can do. If I were to give you an exercise prescription, this is what science tells us promotes heart health, brain health, and decreasing inflammation. And that is 150 minutes of aerobic exercise each week. Now, aerobic means that you are breathing a little bit heavy, not gasping for breath, but breathing a little bit heavy. And you can get that with walking if you just kind of walk briskly. 150 minutes, you can do it all on the weekend, or you can divide it up. 20, 25 minutes each day. It doesn't matter. But if you get to 150, you've met the target. Plus, 2 episodes of strength training each week as a minimum to help maintain your muscle mass, your core strength, and decrease fall risk. That's your exercise prescription. Maybe your thing was about your mood. Maybe you're doing something specifically to try to promote your mental health. So, how can we set up our environments to promote mental health? Let's think about that for a minute. One of the really, really powerful tools is spending time in nature. And, when I said I wasn't a big fan of camping with my daughter when she was 9, still, I'm a very, very big fan of spending time in nature. Being in nature quiets the brain. There are portions of our brain that are responsible for our rumination, our worrying, our kind of the torturous thoughts that our brain tortures us with sometimes. And those levels, spaces in the brain kind of calm down. The brain activity calms down in those areas when we spend time in nature. And the benefit of sunlight on our mood is real. And that's where those therapy lights come in, where, in the wintertime, people get those therapy lights that turn on the light and it hits your brain and it lifts your mood. So, being out in nature has been really shown to be promoting good mental health. Not to throw any shade toward cat lovers, I love cats, but dogs in particular have really been shown to be promoting mental health. I think there's just something about some entity, this sentient being that is just so thrilled to see you every time you show up, no matter how you are. They are thrilled to see you. They love you. They are pure love. And I think there's something really powerful about that. But pets in general lift our spirits and are good for our mental health. Breathing practices are very powerful. When you take 10 slow, deep breaths and you count them, or you do what's called box breathing, where you breathe in for a count of 4, you hold it for a count of 4, you let go for a count of 4, and you hold that for a count of 4. That is box breathing. Those kind of practices have been shown to decrease all the things I've listed here. So anxiety, PTSD, insomnia, depression. It's a kind of a yogic technique. It's called pranayama breath. And those kind of breathing practices can reduce symptoms of mental discomfort. So, just stick a note on your computer or on your, front door as you're walking out the door that just breathe. Just concentrate on those slow, deep breaths. It's a great way to help calm yourself back to sleep if you're awake at night, just counting your breaths. Very calming, very good for your brain. Spiritual health decreases stress as well. It's a great stress modifier or manager to really tune into your spiritual health. And it doesn't necessarily mean organized religion. I don't mean you need to go to church once or twice a week. I just mean connect with something bigger than yourself in whatever that looks like to you, whatever your spiritual center is. Staying connected to that is a stress reliever, and it's very, very powerful. And if church is your thing, absolutely do that. But if it's nature or if it's the breathing practices or meditation, those kinds of things are very beneficial for stress management. The other thing is we should never worry alone. Being connected to other people help us feel better. It helps us to feel more understood, more hopeful, less alone. It's why support groups work. Support groups work because there's such a relief to know that you're not the only person struggling with this. And when we share our vulnerabilities with our connected people, it really helps to promote our connections with them. We tend to be much more connected to people when they share or we share our vulnerabilities rather than our successes. It's nice to have people celebrate with you, but it's when you say, I'm really kind of struggling right now. That really connects you to that other person and allows you to access that support, and then you'll be able to give that at other times. So I think this is a words to live by. Don't worry alone. Worry with someone else. The other thing that stress science tells us is they call it performing pleasant activities. I call it hobbies. So, things like writing in a gratitude journal, finding the humor in things, doing art or music or poetry or a sport that you love. Those are all good ways to just get out of your brain and really decrease stress. Managing menopause, I wanted to just take a moment for that because it's such a source of difficulty for people who have ovaries that are going through menopause that I wanted to just take a moment and just acknowledge that starting in the early 40s, people start to get symptoms. And that can even be when they're still having periods. 80% of us at some point are going to get hot flushes and often night sweats as well. On average, those last about 5 to 7 years. And they can start in the perimenopause when you're still having periods, so early 40s. And then the average age of menopause, which is when your periods have stopped, is about age 51. But on average, people are going to have hot flushing and night sweats for 5 to 7 years, which can be very, very disruptive, can upset sleep, can upset mood, can cause brain fog, that sort of thing. In addition, people get mood disturbance, sleep disturbance, joint pain, vaginal symptoms. Hormone therapy generally is the mainstay of treatment for menopause. In general, symptoms improve in about 4 weeks. Hot flushes and night sweats. Plus, you get mood stabilization, you get better sleep. The vagina loves estrogen, and so being on hormones really helps with vaginal symptoms. It also is beneficial for bone health and heart health. And people who do take hormones end up 10, 15, 20 years later with decreased all-cause mortality, meaning they die less frequently from all causes. So being on hormones is really beneficial for both symptom management and for long-term health. The only people who should not take hormones are people who have breast cancer themselves, not a family history. That's not a contraindication. But if you have breast cancer yourself, probably not a good idea to be on hormones. If you've had a heart attack or a stroke, those are folks who should not be on hormones, or if you've had a blood clot in your leg or your lung or your brain. Those are the main categories of contraindications, but not family history. So it is important to see someone who can help you kind of sort out whether or not it's a good idea for you and how to manage that. Maybe your thing was about staying connected. And friendships, promoting your friendships. This is kind of ties into the stress management part. You know, this is the most important thing for healthy aging. It's not managing your cholesterol. It's not managing your blood pressure. It's not managing your blood sugar, although all those things are important. The single most important thing that will predict long life is the connections you have to other people. We used to think it was marriage, but it's not marriage. You don't have to be married to have good connections. It's having those quality relationships. So if you have a friend that you could call in the middle of the night if you got bad news, or if you needed something, or if you were scared, you are more likely to live longer than if you didn't. So you should treasure and cherish your connections. Also, you should choose carefully who you allow to be in your life because we influence each other. And we're only as happy as our most unhappy close connection. If our partner or our children are not happy, that impacts us as well. So you also want to choose people who are going to be doing this wellness journey with you and trying to make those healthy choices for themselves as well, so that they can support you in this as well. Geography also matters. It's harder to really gain the benefits of friendship if you're far away. So you want to try to be close to your friends. All right, so I've covered a lot, and I'm looking forward to our conversation part of this hour. But let's recap those 7 strategies: good sleep, good sex, healthy nutrition, moving your body, stable mood, managing your stress, managing your menopause, and treasuring your connections are the ways that science has told us will help to promote a long and healthy life. The menopause part, I would say, probably doesn't apply to men, but the rest of it applies to all genders and is worth working on in all aspects of our lives at all of our ages, but certainly in the second half of our lives. Don't forget to set up your environment for success so that you can make the choices that you want to make, and you've already made those supportive structures in place. And then always, always be kind to yourself and recognize that, it's a journey, that we're not perfect every day, and that we do the best we can. And if we're lucky, we've still got tomorrow to come around and try it again. And don't let trying to be perfect trip you up. You're good enough, and your efforts are good enough. All right. And that's all of it. I thank you so much again for the opportunity to be with you, and I look forward to our chat. So I will stop sharing now.
So, wow, bravo. I don't even know where to begin. So, I thought I would begin with box breathing so that we can connect virtually with the audience and that we can manage our stress for the moment. And maybe during this box breathing that we can all do together, which my understanding is that's what the Navy SEALs use when they're in a very stressful situation, is to just take a minute to center and their themselves so that they can move on to the next challenge. But let's all together in the audience do a box breathing exercise together, and then maybe that will bring up some good questions from the audience, because I'm going to launch right into the questions that were done at registration. Karen, do you want to lead us on a little box breathing together?
Susan, I swear you and I are siblings because I thought I should count to 4 for everyone. So thank you for the offer and the opportunity to do that. Yes, let's do that. Sit in a comfortable seat, put your feet flat on the floor, and as I count to 4, breathe in slowly. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it again. 1, 2, breathe in. 3, 4, hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Traditionally, we do this 3 times, so we're going to do it one more time. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now just check in, see how you feel compared to a minute ago.
It's really good to get oxygen in the brain. And that's a minute exercise. I think everybody should try to do every day. And that's a minute. So that's good enough.
Good enough. Absolutely. So simple and so powerful.
And, I've been using that at night. We all wake up at 2:30 in the morning with really silly things in our minds. Silly. How am
Oh,
I going to make it to the dentist and smile walking in? I mean, really silly things. So I've been using that. It's so helpful in just
or
relaxation.
big things. I mean, sometimes it's big things that keep us awake, right? So, we're human and we're dealing with stuff. And usually it's not a headache or back pain that's keeping us awake at night. It's our ruminating thoughts. So absolutely count your breaths, count your breaths. I love that, Susan. Mhm.
The other thing I just wanted to share about good enough is Kensington, one of our partners in nutrition is Annie Fenn, who wrote and authored, and I'll send you a copy, the Brain Health Kitchen cookbook. And
Oh,
she's phenomenal. And her story is very similar. She was an OB-GYN in Wyoming, and her mother developed Alzheimer's. And she said, this is ridiculous, completely pivoted from being an OB-GYN and now is a chef on the Brain Health Kitchen. And she said something that you said, and I love this good enough. She said, stick with the Mediterranean diet 60% of the time. I'm not going to tell people never to have cheese again. I mean, that's kind of silly, right? But there's substitutes. But if you can just do it 60% of the time, that's going to decrease your chances of developing, you know, heart and head diseases by 60%. So you don't
so
have to be perfect.
Oh, Susan, honestly, I will tell you my story. I grew up in Texas, and we didn't think that we were having a real meal unless the steak was falling off the plate. And I love red meat. And if I had to choose my last meal, it would be red meat. I love it, but I eat it maybe once every 2 months now. And I do a little bit of chicken and fish, maybe once or twice a week, if that, not very much. And my hemoglobin A1C, which is your pre-diabetes thing, we wanted under 5.8. Mine was 5.7. And I did this, I just eat that way, and it went to 4.9. I can't believe it. I was like running around the clinic bragging about my A1C when I got my
Sound like
result.
that that jingle that I have in my head. But
Yeah, because
anyway,
I'm not even that serious about it. And so you can really move those numbers if you do that, absolutely. 60% is great. Mhm.
we have a lot of questions about hormonal replacement therapy. So I'm just going to kind of start with that, but people want to know when to begin, when to stop.
Yeah.
People want to know, what if my doctor says no to HRT? I'll call it HRT.
Mhm.
And then really, when should you think about going off, and how can it really assist in my life?
Yeah. Okay. So here's Menopause 101. So there's a window of time where there's a window of opportunity when people start on hormones and then just stay on them, that it's the perfect time where you get really overwhelming benefit. And that is under age 60 or less than 10 years out from your last period. So if you've had your periods up until age 55, you've got until 65 to start hormones and get the benefit. So it's under age 60 or 10 years out from your last period. When people start on hormones at that time and then just stay on them, 15 years later, they have better bones, fewer bone fractures, better bone density, and a healthier heart. And their brain fog tends to lift. It doesn't prevent dementia. We don't really recommend hormone therapy as a treatment to prevent dementia. There's all the things I talked about earlier are the ways you can decrease your risk for dementia, is healthy eating, healthy exercise, all of that. But it is definitely good for your bones and definitely good for your heart. And so you start young and you stay on it. Or, if you are in your early 60s, you're kind of on that borderline. We have to kind of think about the risks and benefits. Starting after age 65 is usually not a good idea. It doubles the risk of dementia to start it after age 65. So you really kind of want to get on board before age 65 and in that window of opportunity. But if you do that, there's no age at which we automatically stop it. So if somebody's doctor doesn't want to give it to them, then you can go to the North American Menopause Society website. Actually, it's now called the Menopause Society. And if you Google the Menopause Society, you can put in your zip code and you can find a certified menopause practitioner in your area who can help you get onto hormones. So, and hormones aren't the right thing for everyone, but you deserve a risk benefit discussion about it and determination whether it's the right thing for you or not.
That's super helpful. And then another question that came in is, how can I talk to and prepare my family for menopause? My children, my husband, because I think having that open communication is really important.
Absolutely. This is kind of anticipatory counseling or anticipatory preparation because anybody with ovaries is going to go through this. And so, kind of educating yourself, knowing what to expect, kind of finding your providers who are going to be on your team as you kind of navigate this and having that conversation early in your 40s. And if your doctor shuts you down or your provider, then you're going to need to go find somebody who can kind of help guide you through that. So getting your team in place, knowing kind of what the symptoms are and what to expect so that you have a little bit of a high, your antenna are up so that you're like, I'm still having periods, but I'm sure having a lot of hot flushes, or my mood is all of a sudden just gone south. I don't know what's wrong. Have that awareness that those symptoms can be related to menopause. And then tell your family and your friends that, you are kind of embarking on this journey and that you want them to be aware of it as well. And that's again, gather your support systems and make sure everybody's aware of it and, supporting you in making the choices that you want to make to try to, be on hormones, but also eat right, eat healthy, exercise, don't smoke, manage your stress, all those things. Like I said, we're only as happy as our unhappiest child or our partner. And so we want to just kind of work on our family mental health as well. All those things I think but it really comes down to awareness, just knowing, being aware and being proactive in getting all your team in place.
And a question just came in, and I'm just going to follow up with that because you talk a lot about support, connectiveness. Victoria said she's really struggling caring for someone with dementia. She's struggling herself.
Yeah.
And I know we went through the 7 things, and it's so easy to be able to say that to someone that doesn't have a lot of time. But do you want to just speak? She's really challenged physically and mentally with the caregiving that each day is a challenge.
It's so true. It's so true because we all have some inclination about what we ought to do. We know we ought to eat. We shouldn't be opening up bags of chips every day, but sometimes, gosh, you're just exhausted. You're mentally, emotionally tired. You're physically tired. You're dealing with challenges. Absolutely. And I think that that when we think about behavior change and we think about, what do we want ourselves to look like in 5 years, or what do we want our lives to look like? And we kind of nail down, I want to be healthy. I want to be able to hop on and off, a boat or, whatever. I want my core strength to be strong. I want to age in a healthy way, and we start really identifying those things, then I think we have to start thinking about what in our life is keeping us from being able to do that. Is it time? Is it resources? Is it knowledge? and really try to think about what the barriers are. And for some people, they're just too tired right now. They're just overwhelmed emotionally. And I think you have to just say, I want to exercise more, but right now, all I can do is go outside and walk up and down the street for 10 minutes or 5 minutes, or that's the good enough. Like, do what you can do and think about the barriers and think about what might be effective, like, pairing up with someone, calling up a friend and saying, you're as busy as I am, but let's carve out 20 minutes a day where we're going to meet and walk. That's a commitment device, right? You've committed to you'll show up for them maybe in a way that you wouldn't show up for yourself. And so kind of thinking about ways that you can overcome the barriers of time or exhaustion or overwhelm to make small incremental changes. And don't beat yourself up if this isn't the week that you can get out there and do it. Just thinking about it is a step toward behavior change, and you have to start thinking about it and wrapping your head around it before you can get up off the couch and do it. I guess that's what I would say is you may just be in that contemplation stage, and that's okay. And then moving forward as you feel like you can.
I think good enough is so important. And the other thing I'd like to just share is there's so many support groups out there, is
Yeah.
that connectiveness to help you, with your challenges that you have daily. I mean, it's really hard because you're alone. You can't really have a communication with the person you're caring for, and you have to anticipate so many things. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and trying to create a little bit of a vacation for yourself, like maybe looping in someone who can come in 2 hours a week or something so that you can just go and breathe or lay on the yoga mat and cry if that's what you need to do, trying to build in ways that you might have a little bit of a break here and there, because it is absolutely exhausting to be the caregiver 24/7.
Take care of yourself, please.
Yeah.
Um, what is the medical benefit for our bodies? The good sex element. What's the medical benefit?
Endorphins. It's like the runner's high. It's that anything that releases endorphins in our brains. Now, I'm not worried if you're not having sex and you're fine with that. It's fine. No, I'm not going to tell you that you need to go out and have sex. I know some people have been together for years and they are happily celibate together. That's fine. I'm not worried about it if you're not worried about it. But we do know that there are physiologic changes that happen in our brain with orgasm, and that it lifts our mood for about 24 to 36 hours afterwards. So it's a legal and cheap way of getting a little bit of an endorphin boost.
Probably good for sleep too. Well, I'm still with you on the good enough. I can't go completely plant, but I do that 3 times a week and I love it. And the other thing I wanted to tell you about your A1C that you experience through diet, I experienced the same thing through very minimal weightlifting. But my husband said you should really lift weights. It's so good for you. And so I just bought weights and I just do it at home and it's really easy. And my bone density went from kind of orange or whatever
Yeah.
to significantly better. I was
Great.
absolutely blown away. So you don't have to do too much.
Such an important message, Susan, such an important message that there is no amount that is too little that you won't get benefits. You will get benefits. And so, and the hardest part is starting, because it's really all about the momentum, right? What is the direction you're going in? And if you're sedentary and you start exercising, that is the hardest part right there, to go out and do that 10-minute walk or 20-minute walk. Once you've done it, all you have to do is keep doing what you've done and you'll get there. So, it's almost like turning around a cruise ship, right? It's going this direction and you have to turn it around. But oh my gosh, once you've turned it around, just keep going and you're golden.
Yeah, you can go west. Go west. Last question. Postmenopausal treatment, is that recommended for a woman who has breast cancer in her family? Not breast cancer in her family, not she has.
Right. Right. So even people who have BRCA genes, like the breast cancer genes, they can take hormones if they don't have breast cancer themselves, because the data says that it does not increase our breast cancer risk above and beyond the background risk related to the gene. And so, yes, absolutely, they can. Family history of breast cancer, even genes, are not a contraindication to being on hormones.
I agree. I agree. I just want to just say one thing to the audience and to you. I just can't thank you enough for taking your time out of your day. And I can't thank the audience enough for taking time out of their evening or afternoon, depending on where they live in this beautiful country. But really, such valuable information. And so I encourage everyone to please share this with your friends and family and male influencers in your life.
Yes. And call your friends.
I love the connectiveness. And you and I promise we're going to get a date on the calendar to hike outside and
Right.
chat. And we'll click a few of those boxes all at once. Yes. And
Our
smile,
resting smile faces.
except for when we go to the dentist. I'm sorry. I love my dentist, but it's not my favorite.
I don't like that either, but I'm always smiling when I come out.
Yes, exactly. Or crooked smile. But anyway, thank you, everyone. Be safe and have a wonderful evening or afternoon. And thank you so much, Karen Adams, and your wonderful team. Have a
My
great evening.
my
Night.
pleasure. Bye-bye.